Well, it was fun while it lasted. Sweet. It probably was the last time I see it.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's a badass bike.
Shame it's got. Shame.
Morning. Y'all gonna be rolling with me real quick while I'm headed to the job. I am a working man, working for the country actually. But anyways, I've been getting some inquiries about why I got rid of my Envy Agusta Vader this past weekend. There were several reasons. It's just a culmination of things, but ultimately it just comes down to, if you buy a motorcycle and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, then it's pointless to have it. I don't care what kind of cosmetics, aesthetics that it has, holes that go through the bike that look cool. If you put a fancy exhaust on it, if it doesn't work, it's useless. And so I've been going through problems where I was having rear brake fade, and I hate saying that word, but yeah, rear brake fade issues, as well as gear selection sensor switch issues, just things that hinder you from getting on your bike, turning it on, and going to go enjoy your experience. That's just something that you shouldn't have to really deal with. And this is what I was experiencing. Not the whole time. I did put just under 1,000 miles on it, but I bought that back in September of 2022. And if that tells you anything, that's how little I was riding, because I was experiencing these issues. Or riding that bike. I still do have steam. So when he wasn't working, I would literally go to the other side of the trailer and pull him out. But I'm kind of a little bit hurt about it, because I was building him up, and I did enjoy him when he was working. Ultimately I don't fault the bike. I fault the dealers, and I fault the manufacturer themselves. It's kind of embarrassing when you claim to be, of an elite class of motorcycle, and a certain stature in the motorcycle world, and in reality, once you take ownership of that, you realize that that's just smoke and mirrors, and it's just being held up as such. And just once you start peeling back those layers, you realize, this bike ain't about shit. Not the bike per se, but the fact that the way it came together, it's not as it should be. And they had no qualms about trying to help me get it back together. I made several phone calls, but ultimately for me, it came down to a few things. I'm a handy person, and I like learning. I like working on my bikes. So when these issues were arising, I was trying to contact them and figure out, how can I get this rectified. And I had an owner's manual, but I didn't have a service manual. So I literally talked to a representative and asked them, how can I get a service manual, or what do I have to pay so I can start fixing my bike? They flat out tell me they don't sell service manuals to customers. That is insane. You should always be able to get a service manual so you can service your bike yourself, if that's what it comes down to. What do you mean I purchased a bike that costs $24,000 and I'm not able to get a manual to tell me exactly how things work and the mechanics of it? That's insane. The other straw was, I was getting the bike tuned, and I figured maybe this will help work out the kinks. Well, that process was going for a while, very, very, very limited aftermarket support. That's another big issue. I don't know how you claim to be one of the best, manufacturers, and yet you have like very, very, very rare, limited access to aftermarket, upgrades. That is kind of, it's weird, and it's the thing you get with MV is you feel like they're almost trying to hide that they make motorcycles, so nobody else knows about them. It's a weird concept how they drive their marketing. I don't understand that. But anyways, I know I'm jumping over the place, but there was, like I said, there were several issues. But so I went to Brentoon or B2 Moto, and I had him working on a tune for my bike, and I was under his beta program. Well, that would go 1 week, then 2 weeks later, then 3 weeks later. Next thing I know, he's telling me that, he can't even find the code to work on the bike, and usually tuners have databases, and they're able to get in and then, work on improving the bike. He had no success, and so one day he was giving me, advice about, get sure it's a beautiful bike, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, then it's pointless. And he was like, while you have the value in it, you might want to see about trying to get a better bike or trade for it while you still have the value before you get stuck with a dud. And it's the truth. I had to sit down and think about it, and I was like, I barely ride this bike because I don't want to go out with only front brakes when you should be having two. That's another thing. I don't understand these people that ride motorcycles and then they say, I never used a rear brake or nothing, and you don't need it. Yes, you do, dummy. That's why they put two sets of brakes on the motorcycle. You don't have as much stopping power as you think as you do with a car. And I dare you to grab that front brake as hard as you think you can when you're in a tight situation. And I'll see you flying to Jesus. But I like bikes that work. I have a 2012 ZX14R. You've probably seen that on my channel. I've never had an issue. That thing is years old. I click the button. I cannot start that for weeks at a time, and I can click the button and it'll just take off, no problems. This is for 1 year, a year and a half ownership, and right off the bat I had electrical problems, and then that got fixed. Then I was, it seemed optimistic, and then you ride for a little while, and then you start getting other issues now. So it's not so much the bike, it's the way the bike was put together. It seems like when they were putting their bikes together, it's like a shabby rush job, and then it's just covering up stuff that should have been done appropriately. There's no reason why a wire loom that goes to the front of your headlight on the steering column it's cut so short that when you turn your steering column, it literally shears the wires away, shorting out your headlight and your TFT dash. There's no reason that should happen if you claim to be a pristine engineer or mechanic or something like that. And these rear brake issues. This is the same issue that's been going on for probably like 6 generations or so, or however many I think it's 5 now. Generations of this bike existing over 10 years, and they have not addressed it, and they don't really care to. It's more you fix it, so those were the main things that drove me to go where I was initially going to go when I first started my journey to getting another bike, and that was the Aprilia RSV4. I've always wanted one. I've always loved that bike. I love the sound ever since I went to MotoGP and Moto America in Laguna Seca. That grabbed me from that day, and I never looked back. And I'm totally happy with the purchase that I just made with Saturday. I found some good people. I sent them pictures. They understood exactly what my situation was. They gave me a great deal. I'm still beside myself. I haven't rode it yet due to stormy weather in New Mexico, which sucks. But yeah, man, I'm really game, and I'm looking forward to having a bike that I can hop on and ride. And don't get me wrong, I understand Aprilia has its issues too, but there's something about having dealer support, people that know their way around motorcycles and understand situations and their customers. That you know, I always hear about they have issues with parts. I get it. The parts come from Italy or whatever. That's fine. But if you have the parts and you can take care of my bike, or you can try to get stuff done, I have no problems with that. But the fact that you're paying over 20 grand for a motorcycle and it's sitting in your garage, your trailer. I have a trailer right now, but it doesn't float the boat. So, you know, that was my decision for it. And, you know, I do miss Vader, when the tech took it outside to test it, and he took off down the street and it was screaming, I was like, man, you know, for a moment there I thought like I'm making a bad decision, but it needed to be done, you know. I'll say again, if you buy a motorcycle, especially if you're new, it needs to do what it intended to do. You know, you're supposed to get out of it what you put into it, you know. And overall, that's supposed to be fun. You're not supposed to be sitting there shaking your head or confused or scared, unconfident. You know, you're supposed to be able to ride and have fun. But I'm kind of sad it was such a short ride, you know, in general. But we'll see how this next adventure goes, and thank you guys for watching.